What is up, everybody? It's ABL213 back here with another video, and today I will be doing Arkham City damageless. And this is part 2 of my trilogy of beating the Arkham Trilogy without taking damage. And the next video in this series, and my next video in general, is going to be Batman Arkham Knight damageless. We will wrap a nice little bow on top of this series. And the rules for this challenge are going to be same as Arkham City and the same as Arkham Knight. I cannot take damage, and if I do, I have to restart from the checkpoint. And for this game, there are a couple scenes where Bruce and or Batman gets hit, but I'm only counting it as if I can move him in that instance, or if it's like something that requires you to be hit. I probably explained that very poorly, but what I was trying to say is, like, in this game, like right here, I can technically move around, but I can't do much, so I'm like kind of in a cutscene, and I don't want to count those instances like that where you can only like move forward, because I don't have total control of Bruce or Batman, so I just don't think that counts. If you do, awesome, you can't beat it, but for this run I will not count any instances like that of failing the run. I'll just continue on, because to me that's not really taking damage, because I can't really control him or do anything about that. After that short little tutorial fighting against some penguin thugs, the Batwing drops off the Batsuit, and that's like the only time you've seen the Batwing in this game. I kind of wish they were able to utilize it more, like, because of how vehicle-based Arkham Knight is. I wish you could have used it a little bit in that game, but oh well, it's still cool. And this is a pretty cool cutscene. I like the Batsuit in this game. I also love all the DLC suits. My favorite is probably the Batman Beyond suit, because that one's just amazing. I love like the red and black mix, but there you go. There's Batman. In the introduction, Catwoman gets taken hostage and pretty much is going to die. Two-Face is going to drop her into like an acid bath in the courthouse, so we have to go and save her. One thing I kind of want to talk about is how in the combat in this game, I don't know if it's like when your combo ends or something, but randomly your health bar will just appear, and it's not when you take damage, because I've looked back at this, and even some of the intense moments I remember, I never took damage. It's just when like my combo ended, like there, it just randomly appears my health bar. Unlike how in Arkham Asylum, and that's kind of my preferred way, is Arkham Asylum, how they handled it was that your health would appear when you took damage, but here it's just whenever it decides to. It's like when you're not doing much, and that doesn't count, by the way. It puts me in a cutscene I didn't have control. My favorite part from Arkham Asylum and the entire franchise, the little detective moments. I know it's just like a tutorial for detective mode, so you don't use it much, but I just like being like the actual detective and the stuff around that, like later how you have to trace the League of Assassins, you have to trace her blood across Arkham, and how you're able to trace the sniper bullet back to the church where Joker tried to JFK us. Once we make our way over to the church, Batman decides to commit some domestic violence. We save the hostages from Joker's thugs, climb up the watchtower, and learn that Joker has rigged it to explode, and we have to listen to a monologue before he blows us up and dies. Well, kills us, I guess. But we also learn that he fired the shot remotely, which is kind of cool. You know, Joker has that power, but good for us that he missed, because it was remote controlled, because I'm 90% sure if he was shooting, he would have actually been able to hit us. And this would have been a very short game. Before we go over to the steel mill and stop Joker, I decided to do the AR training so I can get the grapple boost, and this is a lifesaver, you know, just kind of speeds everything up and is really fun to use, because out of all the games, I would say Arkham City is my favorite to glide around, but probably Arkham Knight to travel, just because you have so many different things you can use. And gliding's pretty fun in later games. It just feels kind of like stiff and awkward in Arkham Asylum, I guess, because it's just the first game, but I just love flying around city, and being able just to grapple boost and continue gliding without touching the ground is just so much fun in this game. And it's pretty much a necessity as well, so I just decided to go ahead and take it out just to help me later in the game travel faster, speed things up. After running around Joker's steel mill and beating up small groups of enemies and saving a hostage, we come back here to meet Joker face to face and repay him for trying to kill us with a sniper rifle and also blow us up in a church. You know, I think a pretty reason to want to get revenge. And there he is, the new enemy type of this game. One-armed man with heavy weapon, I guess. But these I was gonna call them the Titans of Arkham City, but they're really not because Arkham City has Titans and they're way better and more fair, in my opinion, than the Arkham Asylum ones are. But I like these guys, Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle. Mr. Sickle is the Penguin version that we'll see later when we go to the museum. But I like these guys because you can get a combo that's very high, and that high number makes my serotonin go up. One thing I do like about the Hammer and Sickle guys are that you can shoot them with the electric gun or whatever it's called. Electric fire? Whatever. You can shoot them and make them hit the enemies or just go insane and stun them if you need to. And I mean, look at that. A combo of over 50? Now that's awesome. I mean, I do reach an insanely high combo that is kind of crazy later in one of the Joker fights. A very fun fight that I thought would take years, but actually didn't. And the probably best thing about the Hammer and Sickle guys are that they don't take a lot of damage to kill. You literally just get them in a high combo around maybe like 30 to 50, and if you can just single them out to the end or take them out first, it makes the fights super easy. Just don't make any mistakes or get hit by the thugs, and you'll be fine. When Batman finally gets to Joker, that wasn't a good move because Joker pretty much just drugs him with that laughing gas or whatever, and then starts infusing. I don't know if that's the right word, but just he puts his Titan-fueled blood that is going to slowly kill him, and is slowly killing him, into Batman, so they can be together, both dying of that Titan-infused blood. While Batman is currently dealing with Joker, we get to take over as Catwoman, and we have to go find Poison Ivy and fight her mind-controlled thugs. And at least this is the only thing you have to deal with Poison Ivy in this game. I'm just happy she doesn't have a boss fight that we get stuck on later, but I do really like how they allow you to switch between Catwoman and Batman. I mean, it's very short, the Catwoman parts, but as well she has the entire post-game, which I will not be doing. I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning. If I didn't, my bad. I'm only going until the credits roll, so no Catwoman getting back her treasure from Two-Face's thugs. I'm just gonna play until I see the credits. Joker explains to Batman that he's dying because of the Titan that he used when he was the final boss in Arkham Asylum, and that he put his blood into Batman's body, and Joker also shipped out his blood to all the hospitals in Gotham and near Gotham, so anyone that gets his blood will die because of the Titan, so Joker can take out as many people with him because he's dying as well. And he also makes Batman die. So it's a race for the cure now between Batman and Joker. Batman needs the cure fast, so he won't die. And he is sent on a mission to go find Mr. Freeze because he's like the smartest person in the universe or something. He's the only person that would like know how to cure this. So we're sent to the coldest place in Gotham, which turns out to be the GCPD building, the old one. And Mr. Freeze is taken over and turned into his little lab of sorts, I guess. Just his little hideout here. Once we are done interrogating that Penguin thug, he tells us that Mr. Freeze has been kidnapped. What a surprise. Batman character being kidnapped. He is being taken and pretty much placed into the Penguin's museum in his own little display. So now we are forced to go to the museum and go save Mr. Freeze so he can develop the cure for us. To stop us from getting in to the museum, Penguin does something pretty smart and something that no other Batman villain has done in any of the games. He puts up a jammer so we can't use our sequencer to obviously break the code and then just waltz right into the museum. We have to go around Gotham destroying these jammers. One of them is underground, pretty much next to Wonder Tower. It's on this rooftop, then another rooftop. It's kind of an inconvenience, but it's kind of cool seeing how Penguin, I guess, goes through the most effort to try and stop Batman instead of just putting a bunch of his thugs with guns outside, because we all know that will not work. It will not stop Batman. 3 jammers later, I finally make it back to the museum and do the little decoding thing, which I prefer over Arkham Asylum. I mean, matching up the frequency was kind of cool, but I like the little word puzzle here. And that word puzzle was right. Dinosaur. It's really cool. Just a nice little jump scare. I like how the Arkham games kind of throw in jump scares. I mean, Arkham Knight, not really. I guess you have Scarecrow, but with Arkham Asylum, you had the lunatics that would just jump around corners, and then in Batman, you have a couple instances like that. Another new enemy type, which is the armored guards. I mean, they kind of had that in Asylum, but it was more of just the knife guys, because the knife guys were more armored than the regular, just thugs. But once again, they're like mini versions of Mr. Hammer, Mr. Sickle, just a good way to get your combos up and have a cool, like, 50 in your little combo meter up on the top left. After we save him, this undercover cop sends us on a mission to go retrieve his friends and other undercover cops that were taken, once again, hostage by Penguin. So we have to go throughout this entire museum and go save all of the cops that have been taken hostage. Well, I guess his shirt was correct. He is a dead cop. The fight here in the Colosseum is something I struggle on a bunch, even when I was playing in New Game Plus, which is just extra hard version of this game. Pretty much, I would struggle on this, but this one surprisingly only took me maybe 4 attempts. I guess because I just decided to go slow, because usually when I'm playing like New Game Plus or something, I don't care about taking damage, so I just go as fast as I possibly can. Take a bunch of stupid damage, end up getting myself in a predicament where I'm like very low on health and have to counter like 17 people, but this time I didn't. I just played it kind of slow and kept up the ferociousness, made sure I didn't corner myself or put myself in a bad spot. And then Penguin uses his little umbrella gun here to reintroduce my favorite enemy type, the Titan. But besides his horrifying chicken legs there, it's probably the scariest thing about him. Or I guess chicken leg, he's one very small leg. I guess it's just I'm more used to fighting these guys compared to the Asylum ones, so I just prefer them. I just find them easier to do the Titan stun and take them out easier, and then just beat them down like pretty much every other enemy in the game. Requires the stun and then the beat down. After killing the Titan and the rest of the guys, we go off to the little ice lounge here to save the rest of the cops. There are 3 in this main little ice room, and then 2 into the rooms to the left and the right, and this is just a worse version of the sewer with Killer Croc from Asylum, which I really like that, and just like the surroundings of being trapped in that sewer with Croc who could attack at any minute, just like Tiny, I think that shark's name is, which is, I love this game, but I think they need to work on the naming with some characters. Tiny the shark, Mr. Hammer, Mr. Sickle, they couldn't have come up with anything better. But what I was saying is, this is just worse Killer Croc from Asylum. A nice little fun area with some jump scares with Tiny the shark coming up just to eat you. I save cop number 2 here in the ice lounge, and I just decide to break order a little bit, go into the room, up the ladder, and into the right where I can save 3 more police officers. This room here pretty much just serves as a tutorial for the night vision goggles that the enemies will start to wear now. They had them in Arkham Asylum, and they work the same way in Arkham City and in Arkham Knight. Just so you can't camp on top of gargoyles and just take them all out that way, so you have to kind of strategize more, take them out first, or just use the gargoyles as little as possible, whatever strategy you want to, but that's all this room boils down to, just another tutorial. I mean, we are at the beginning of the game, so that's expected, but we just take all these guys out and free the hostages, and then go to free some more. Then we go into the room to the left to go save Mr. Freeze, but we then meet Mr. Sickle, Mr. Hammer's brother, and I think their actual name is the Abramovich twins, I believe is what their name is. Actually, they just decided to call him Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle instead, I guess. I kind of like those names better, it just reminds me of this game that I love.
Here you defeated my brother. He was always weaker than me.
I really like Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle in this game. I'm just going to call him that because it's easier to pronounce than Abramovich. And I'm not 100% sure I'm even, 1, pronouncing that right, 2, if that's even their real names. But it's just fun to get like that high of a combo. Like I got a 50 combo off of just him. And I can use the critical strikes as well to get a combo of over 70, which is just kind of crazy. You can reach it high, but it does go even higher. And it's just fun to have the arcadey like fly style just from the enemy to enemy, just attacking them. It's just so fun to play like that. Then we save Mr. Freeze, who looks like a very malnutritioned version of the Blue Man Group. I did them kind of out of order by doing the one where Mr. Freeze's suit is locked up. I did that first, so I just kind of had to backtrack instead of going to save Freeze and then going here, taking them all out and getting a suit there, but it doesn't matter which way you do it, it's just kind of annoying to have to backtrack. But then we get the only weapon that can take down Penguin, so that's great, but Mr. Freeze gives up the Freeze Disruptor, which can jam his weapons, which we totally won't use later against him, right? I don't really want to call this a boss fight, or a fight in general, but after you get the Freeze Overrider, Penguin will just shoot at the doorways to try and kill you, but they don't really work because you can just stop, and then he doesn't shoot again, he'll just go to the next one and shoot. So it's kind of just slow walking, waiting for Penguin to decide to stop shooting, running up behind him, jamming the Mr. Freeze's gun with the Freeze Override, punching him, and then it's over. That's probably one of the main things I just don't really like about the Arkham series, like these kind of walking simulator things. It's like, oh, just walk here very slowly against this Batman villain when you could have a kind of cool fight with him. But at least Penguin has something decent for us. And by something decent, I mean blowing up the iceberg and resurrecting Solomon Grundy, which for some reason Penguin says when he bought the museum, Solomon Grundy was underneath it. I don't want to ask why he was just underneath this museum, but whatever. I mean, so he got a museum and an unkillable monster. That's a great 2-for-1 deal if you ask me. Something interesting I learned about this boss fight is that sometimes, randomly, you can just spawn in Solomon Grundy's hands and he'll just throw you and you'll take damage. Like right there, that happened to me twice, back to back, and I don't know why, and that's the only 2 times it happened to me. So I'm just very confused why it spawned me in his grasp with him throwing me. Kind of unfair if you ask me, because you're literally just taking damage. That's the only time I've ever seen that happen. Just when we think Solomon Grundy's down for the count and Batman can rip his heart out, he gets back up and does this. And here, I don't know if I'm taking damage or not because, like, the screen's aggressively shaking, but my health bar never goes down. So I technically don't take any damage, so I just continue the run because, like, again, whatever you think. If you think I took damage there, awesome, but the health bar didn't move enough to prove to me that that was damage that I took. So I just think it's fair game after this, and the silverfish there are probably the most annoying part about this. Maybe besides that electrocution part, but I think the run is still valid. So Batman doesn't kill, right? But I think ripping out a man's rib cage and then proceeding to rip out and destroy his heart, I think that's killing. I know he's like an undead monster that's been brought back to life a bunch, but Batman killed him, so I think Batman does indeed kill. Man, the Penguin really is a joke. I mean, he has this, the part where we just use the freeze jammer on his gun, well, I guess Mr. Freeze's gun, and then the part at the beginning where we break his knuckle. He really has nothing to do, and every time we have to one-on-one face him, it's either one punch to take him out or just a fast little combo punch like that. And then Mr. Freeze just gets his payback with Penguin. Batman tosses him to the floor, and then Penguin locks him in his own little display case, just like how Mr. Freeze was locked up in one of Penguin's. Mr. Freeze tells Batman that he's missing an ingredient to make the cure, and he needs Ra's al Ghul's blood. So Batman decides to track the blood of the League of Assassin girl that was locked in that display case by Penguin. So he has to use his detective vision and track her blood all the way back to find out where she went, and so hopefully she can lead him to the League of Assassins so he can go get some Ra's al Ghul's of blood so he can get the cure. After a quick rooftop chase following the assassin, Batman plants a tracking device on her so he can follow her back to where Ra's is. Then a couple more appear. Robin shows up out of nowhere trying to save us, and then Batman basically tells him to piss off, leave alone, and go help the people in the hospitals that are getting transferred Joker's blood. So Batman basically just like, I don't want your help, Robin. But at least he gives us the line launcher, I guess. That's kind of cool. So he made his one appearance pretty good in this game. It's kind of sad Robin does not appear at all in Arkham Asylum. he has this one part in City, but at least he's in Night. At least they were able to incorporate him into Night, so we could get more of Nightwing and just normal Robin. 20 minutes later, I got stuck on that mission for a little bit. It was just kill a bunch of the Joker guys and don't be detected. Here's another sequence again of us taking a lot of damage where I'm not in control. And once again, I don't count this because it's kind of like a cutscene. I don't have control over Batman, so I can't really help that he's taking all that damage. Mainly, it's Joker's fault for... Is infusing him even the right word? I don't think it is. Just, he infused his Titan blood into Batman, which is causing him to slowly die and take damage. Kind of like that Joker thug right there who just died in front of us. That's what's going to happen to Batman if he doesn't get Raish's blood and get Mr. Freeze to make this cure very soon. I got stuck on this part for an hour, and I shouldn't have, because all you have to do is just go scan all the heads of the robots and defeat the ninjas that pop up. But as you can see there, I fell through the map. I don't know what I did, and I was not able to replicate it. I just thought this was kind of interesting. I decided to sit here for a little bit, just kind of curious how far I can go. And like I said, I wasn't able to replicate this, and I'm not entirely sure how I did it. My best guess would be that the developers left like a rail or something you can just grapple onto, like how Batman did, and he climbed on top of it, and there was no like death boundary or invisible wall there, so it just allowed me to walk right off and into this pit. I've never seen this before. This is the first time I've ever seen it. Like, I've never seen it happen to anyone else or me, so tell me if you've seen this before, because it's strange, but kind of cool. An hour later, and I finished scanning all the robot heads and getting attacked by about 2 ninjas at a time. That should not have taken me an hour. It's just like, I don't know, it's one of those things I just got stuck on for like no apparent reason. Like, Ra's al Ghul's boss fight here takes me like 5 attempts, maybe 15 minutes around that, but just getting attacked by 2 ninjas and scanning robot heads takes me over an hour, which I don't understand. But this is another cool fight aesthetically, and just also kind of fun just to dive out of the way of his little blades and him swinging his sword as well. There was throwing his shurikens, and also where he makes his sand people attack you. I'm not really sure what to call them. And also this is just kind of cool. How Batman's able to stop a sword with his just gloves. I guess he's Batman, he can pay as much money as he wants. After we beat Ra's in the fight, he turns into Zsasz from Arkham Asylum, takes someone hostage, and easily gets taken down with a batarang. Kind of a sad ending, but I guess the fight's cool enough to make up for that. Then Batman takes Ra's blood so we can get the blood to Mr. Freeze so he can make the cure. When we come back to Freeze to give him the blood so he can make the cure, he is very pissed off because Joker stole his wife, a literal block of ice, and has taken her hostage. So now he takes out his anger on us and starts attacking us like a dad who just got laid off. This is one of my favorite and one of the best fights from the entire Arkham series. It's just really cool how Freeze will just track out your location with the little balls he throws up in the air, the heat-seeking things, and how he'll trace your footsteps just so you can't hide. You always have to be on the run or doing something. You can never, like, just camp in one spot and Cheese won't attack, because he's also reactive, as if you walk up behind him and take him down that way, he will have like this little laser thing out of his butt, so you can't do that. You hide in one of the grates, he'll freeze the grate, so you can't go in. You jump off of a ledge and attack him, he'll freeze all the ledges. So it's just like a really fun boss fight, how you have to like think and use all of your gadgets to your advantage, and once you use it, you can't use it again, so you have to find another way or come up with another way to get another hit of damage and make sure he doesn't hit you, because if he sees you, you are most likely going to die. Joker stole the cure from Freeze, and now we're going into the part that I was most scared about when deciding to do this challenge and like planning out what to do, because I don't know why, this is just something I've always struggled with, no matter what difficulty, how many times I've played the game. I guess because I was never good at the knife things, just the bombardments of enemies that it'll throw at you. But god, he looks awful. I had 3 fights in my mind. It was this one, the Ra's al Ghul fight, and then the Penguin Mosh Pit grind. I wasn't never really too worried about the final boss, but this one to me is kind of like the mid-boss, or has the same difficulty as a final boss. Earlier when I got that combo of like 78 or whatever it was, I said I had a bigger combo, and here it is. There were a lot of close calls, and honestly I was so scared I thought I was going to piss myself a couple times out of pure panic and fear because of how well this attempt went. And the wavy screen is because of an upgrade, which I don't even remember what it did. I just regret getting it because it makes everything look so ugly, honestly, and kind of hard to see. I could easily see myself like screwing up and getting hit, but here, once again, is a prime example of the Mr. Hammer and Mr. Sickle guys of just being beat-up machines. Like, easy combos, like, look at that. Already up to a 87 combo just from him and a couple of guys alone. It got scary when the Titan was dropped in, just because I'm like, oh no, big enemy, you can easily rush me. I mean, the combo does go up by 2 to help you get there a little fast, but I'm pretty sure it's the highest combo I've ever gotten, like, in normal gameplay of one of the Arkham games, any of them. I was surprised I was actually able to get a combo this high and just how good it was going. Also, stunning these guys getting into a hit combo like that is scary on these rails because you can get sideswiped by one of the rail cars. That happened to me when I was on the Titan, so I got pretty far into this fight just for that to happen. Yeah, it's horrible. Surprisingly, this fight, which I thought was going to be one of the hardest and take me the longest, only took me maybe 5 attempts or even less. It was very, very fast. I guess it's because I went on this great combo and ended up just playing out of my mind, not getting hit by a single thing, being weary of every tiny attack, going extra precautious, but getting a combo all the way up to like 168 is just impressive. 168 combo. That's probably why I beat it this fast, but I find it the more impressive that I was able to get all the way to a combo of 168 without doing something stupid and taking damage. But after this, I'd probably say the hardest true fight in the game is probably the final boss, because the Ra's al Ghul boss fight didn't take me that long, and the Penguin Colosseum fight in the museum didn't take me that long either. Surprisingly, the hardest part of this game was the mission where it's not even a mission, just where you had to get all of the, where you had to scan all of the robots' heads down in Wonder Tower while the ninjas just straight up attack you, because I kept making stupid mistakes and ignoring them, and like the camera wasn't positioned properly. That took the longest out of anything in this game, which honestly very shocked me. Catwoman wants to steal from Strange just for a bunch of treasure, because she's a criminal obviously, and then she sees on that little TV up there that Batman is presumed dead pretty much, because he got crushed from a missile striking the steel mill and just collapsing in on him. And you have a choice of either leaving Batman and escaping Gotham with this loot, or going to save him, and obviously just like giving up the loot to go save Batman and continue the game. And something cool is that if you go over to the right and just leave Gotham, you get just a little cutscene of Catwoman leaving and the credits, and then it just teleports you back and is like, hey, you should go save Batman, so, you know, the game can continue. Catwoman saves Batman, and then Batman decides to go hunt down Strange so he can take him out and stop Protocol 10 and save everyone in Arkham City. So after I really don't know what happened, I guess just a very deadly version of a Galley-Rock with fully armed guards, guns trained ready to shoot you, we get this reveal that it was not Hugo Strange who was the main guy, I guess, behind Protocol 10. It was really Ra's al Ghul, and he was just using Strange as his pawn, which is the first plot twist of this game, because there's actually 2. One coming up with the final boss, and then this right here of how Ra's is really, like, the big guy and the big reason that Protocol 10 is even happening. With his last dying breath, Strange activates Protocol 11, tries to kill the mastermind behind it of Ra's al Ghul and Batman, so he can kill both enemies at once, the guy who killed him and the guy who he was kind of trying to kill. But Ra's thinks he's slick trying to kill Batman here, but Batman somehow saw the sword or just had his Spidey sense activate. Wait, wrong franchise. And Ra's is dead, just like that. I mean, he has his Lazarus pit, which someone can just go collect his body and drag him there, but for now, he's gone and not a threat to us. We just got the second plot twist of this game, which was that Joker never took the cure and is still dying because of the Titan in his blood, and that Clayface stood in for him. So back at that fight with the Titan and everyone in the steel mill when you thought you were fighting real Joker. It was actually just Clayface, and Joker, I guess, just sat in a corner coughing himself to death because he still looks terrible. I mean, he could have just had half the cure and then saved it for Batman to try and get, but now Batman really only has the cure to fight for because the whole reason that he came here was for Talia, and now she's dead, so I guess he has to save himself instead of his girl. With the final boss here, Clayface, just a couple hits away from dead. I have to just take out his minions and just make sure not to get hit by his mud balls. I guess that's what he's shooting me. Maybe they're clay balls because he's made of clay. Now that I think about it, he's just a clay demon that plays dress up as Joker for half the game, actually, now that I think about it. And also, Batman doesn't kill, but explain to me what this is. I don't care if he's a clay demon. He was frozen in ice, and then Batman jumped inside of him and is currently stabbing him. I think he's dead. He's sliced in half. And also, falling into the Lazarus pit and blowing up, isn't too safe and or healthy. So I think this is another sequence of Batman actually killing someone. And after brutally murdering Clayface and watching Joker spaz out here on the floor, we have beaten Arkham City without taking damage. One of my favorite games of all time. I love this game, and I'm going to make you feel old. This game just celebrated its 10th year anniversary on the 18th, 2 days ago. So, this game is 10 years old. But it's still an amazing game, and I wish they would make games like this again. Great superhero games. But with that, you've made it to the end, and one more video on this of beating Arkham Knight without taking damage should come out maybe early November. If I don't get it done in October, early November. But I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.